everybody hates me. It's pretty funny, actually. This isn't one of those woe is me videos. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But it is pretty funny because, man, I'll tell you, like, I feel like sometimes the things that I say and the truths that I convey are very inconvenient for everybody involved. And so there's really no group of people that really agree with what I have to say, right? And let me explain. Let me kind of get to where I'm going with this. But what got me thinking about this is actually doing the podcast with my wife, the Better Than Perfect podcast, because it's pretty funny, right? If you go, if I post a clip from the podcast on Instagram, man, guys will be jumping all over me. Oh, I can't believe you let this woman make you a feminist, and they get so upset, right? These same guys that were very happy about the content that I was creating, talking about how to pick up women and what to do if a woman disrespects you, and all these type of things about masculinity, they don't like actual masculinity, right? They don't like the hard truths about it, which again, what I'm saying is not a shock. Obviously, and Seneca talked about this, that the Stoics have talked about, many wise people have talked about the idea that if the crowd applauds you, then there's a problem, right? Because what the crowd approves of is not, it's an indicator that you're probably not such a great guy, that you're probably catering to the masses, and the masses are foolish. But getting back to the point here, so I won't go into all the specifics, but obviously I've created a lot of content. I'm trying to think about this, but about being a man, about masculinity, right? I talk about a lot of things about Stoic philosophy and self-discipline and motivation, and how to transform your life, right? How to be a more masculine man in terms of women, how to have boundaries and how to not allow people to disrespect you, but also how to be loving and caring and kind. And so it's funny because, those messages generally, they're accepted by a lot of men, right? However, a lot of feminist women and feminist men don't like that message. They don't like the masculine message that I'm giving to men, right? They think that it's toxic. They say, oh, this is that Andrew Tate kind of stuff. And so they don't want to realize the plight of men, which I understand. I totally understand, because I was one of those guys. I was one of those dorky guys that could not get a woman attracted to them, that didn't understand that was a nice guy, like that really felt like he got the short end of the stick in life. I was one of those guys, right? So I get it. So I'm trying to teach these guys how to be better men and to be more strong and to be more masculine, right? And like I said, the women hate that. They hate that content. They think it's chauvinist. A lot of women attack that content. At the same time, there are certain groups of men that when I was making this content, that they would hate that, right? Because they want to hate on women, right? And so if I come out and I say, you shouldn't be hating on women, you should just understand, like, there's nothing wrong with understanding the dynamics of male and female sexual relationships and sexual dimorphism, and understanding exactly how these things are. That's great. However, it doesn't, like, having the victim mindset is not the way to go, right? And there's certain groups of guys that get all upset and butthurt about that thing. And then, like I said, I post on Instagram, or, I'm doing this podcast with my wife, and I talk about a lot of the female issues, right? In terms of, why do women have it hard? Because they do, right? The thing is that women also have things really hard. And this is something that I was somewhat aware of, but I became a lot more aware of as I entered the relationship with my wife, Nicole, because I saw all of her friends. Okay. I saw all the texts that she was sending to her friends and what they were sending and the struggles that they were having with men. And I started to understand that even better than I had before. And I saw, wow, man, a lot of guys are just jerks. Like there's not a lot of good guys to choose from, and the guys that women are interested in, for the most part, they're dumb. They just don't get it at all. Okay, and so there is a big struggle that women have, and when I talk about this struggle, and when I talk about the struggle that women have, guys get upset about this, right? If I say, hey, don't be a 50-50 man, right? And again, we've talked about this before, but I think this is important, right? If I say don't be a 50-50 man, don't be a guy that, like, if you don't agree with feminism, then don't be a guy that supports feminism by telling women they need to pay for their own stuff. Right? If you're dating a girl, if you're taking her out, if you're in a relationship with a girl, be the man. Step up and be the man. The women shit on me before when I talked about traditional roles, right? About traditional masculinity, when I said that a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and a man should be manly and a woman should be feminine, right? The feminists and a lot of women said, no, that's sexist. That's not true. That's an old way of thinking. That's not how it is today, and that's not correct, and that's suppression, and that's the patriarchy and all this stuff, right? And so I still held up those values, right? But then what disappoints me, I guess, is where I'm going with this, is that these same guys, that a lot of them, they get so upset then when I'm saying don't be a 50-50 guy. Like, be the man. Like have the honor and the respect. Like, do you not have pride anymore? Do we not have pride anymore as men? And yeah, this is a rant, but we'll see where this goes. But I just think it's funny, right? And then the same videos go out on TikTok. And man, one of these reels or clips on TikTok, it has 400,000 views, 430,000 views. And the comments are filled with women, thousands of women saying, yes, this is right. Where can I find a man like this? And so obviously those women don't hate me, but they actually do, right? Because those same exact women, I can guarantee you, if they see some other clips and some other videos that I've made where I talk about now that a woman needs to respect a man, and that she needs to ditch her guy friends, and that she needs to actually submit to a man's authority and trust him to be the leader, a lot of women, they're going to have a problem with that. They're going to say that that's toxic, right? And so it's kind of just this funny thing, right? Because like I said, it exists in both places, right? Women will support me saying that a man should pay for everything and take care of a woman. They're like, I want a man like that. But do you really? Do you really want a man like that? Because it doesn't seem like when I talk about other aspects of masculinity, about men being men, about the gender differences, that women actually want that. But then again, like I said, I can flip it on guys as well. I can tell you guys that a lot of you guys, when I say that a woman should be this way and a woman should act this way and you shouldn't tolerate disrespect and all these things, guys are like, yeah, totally. That's what I want. That's correct. That's right. But then when I say you need to step up and be a man, not so much, right? It's funny. So yeah. So it's kind of just been this thing, right? I'm a pretty hated person, I would say. And again, it's not that I'm whining and crying about this or that it really hurts my feelings that much that I'm misunderstood, but I do think it's funny because I could draw these lines in other areas too, right? I'm not religious in the sense that I used to be Christian, right? And I used to be more religious. Used to teach a men's Bible study at one point, actually. So I did some videos and I know I know theology pretty well. However, most of what I talk about, most of the principles that I espouse, they are biblical principles. Okay. And it's not because I'm familiar with the Bible. It's because they're correct, right? When I talk about forgiveness, right? When I talk about, how a man should be, how a man should treat a woman, when I talk about unconditional love, when I talk about things like turning the other cheek, right? These are universal principles that make sense. And I approach them from a non-religious standpoint. And it's the same thing, again, like I said, with the roles of men and women and masculinity. I think a lot of people, they believe that a man is the head of the household because God said that that's so, right? And they believe that women should submit to man because the Bible says so. And I disagree with that. I don't think it's because the Bible says so. I think because it is the order of things. I think because it makes sense. I think it's because of the masculine and the feminine. I think these are natural polarities, right? And so, again, a lot of religious people hate me because they're like, John, you're into this new age kind of bullshit, and it's wrong. You just need to repent and Jesus will solve everything for you, right? And I already feel the fingers clicking on the dislike button. I can't believe he said something like that, John, man, right? And so people get upset about that kind of thing, and it's just it's funny because hey, I'm on your side. I'm giving the same principles. I just don't believe in the authority behind them, right? It's like it's practical knowledge. It's pragmatism, right? And then we've got the Stoics, right? Of which I call myself, and which I believe is the only philosophy in life. And those guys, they get upset, man. They get upset when John doesn't do everything according to what they believe is Stoic. But it's funny because those guys are the most ironic, I feel, because the thing about that is I will do something. I will post something. I will say something. Maybe I'll respond to a hater. All right. And they will flame me in the comments and be like, you shouldn't respond to haters. You shouldn't get butthurt about things. Now, I'm not actually butthurt myself. However, I can see how my actions might appear that I am, if you didn't know what was actually going on inside my head. But those people are definitely butthurt. They're butthurt about me. And so the irony about that is just it's just amusing. It's crazy. It's so funny, right? And it's like, wow, like, do you really understand? Like, it's hard for me to take you seriously because I think you understand Stoic philosophy. It seems like you do, but then you do the opposite of what you're saying that I should do. So I don't understand now. Like, it's like, what's going on here? So those guys get upset, and then, and then you've got, the scientists, and man, those guys hate me too, because fuck, a lot of the stuff I talk about, even though I'm a very analytical and rational person, I used to be a software developer. I do believe in a lot of the new age garbage, right? I do believe in the power of now and Eckhart Tolle and all of these ideas because they make sense to me. Because this way of thinking about the world, it makes more sense than looking at everything that you can see and observe with your practical senses. So it's it's funny. Like, I could keep on drawing lines and talk about how everyone who I am their biggest ally thinks of me as the enemy. And it is funny because I'll tell women, or I'll see women in the comments, and I'm like, man, you women that are hating on me right now, you don't even understand how much I go to bat for you guys. You don't even understand how much hate and how much shit and flack I take from guys because I stick up for women, because I talk about the things that are important to women, and I understand a woman's plight, right? You get upset because of, this toxic masculinity and all of these things, but you don't understand that, man, of the guys out there, like, I'm one of the guys that you're actually looking for other guys to be, right? Because I'm teaching men, to be the kind of men that will respect a woman and treat her right, and be the kind of guy that you actually would want to be with, right? And so it's interesting, right? And it's the same thing, right? Again, a lot of you guys that are, a lot of guys get upset, and I'm like, man, like, you don't even understand. You don't even get it, right? Because I am your ally. I am on your side. Yeah, I know you heard me talk about some issue of women, but, do you really think that women cheat more than men do? It's not true. It's just not, especially if you compare the opportunities. I mean, women have a lot more opportunities to cheat. Yeah, if you count opportunities versus actual cheating, if men had the same opportunities to cheat as women did, there wouldn't be very many faithful men at all, right? It's true. Most men don't have the opportunity to cheat. So the men that do cheat are the ones that do have the opportunities in general. But women by nature are more committed, right? Now, it doesn't mean that women don't cheat, but like, guys will get upset when I talk about this, and they don't understand. Look, I'm your ally, dude. I'm the one that's teaching women to submit to men. Okay, I'm the one that's teaching women that they need a man, a strong man. Okay, that they need to actually respect a man. Okay, and treat him like a man, and embrace masculinity, and embrace their femininity, and stop, just sleeping with random men all the time, and stop this liberal feminism. Okay, I'm teaching this to women. Okay, but the thing is, my message to women when I give it to them, it's in a way that hopefully empathizes with them, and so that they understand that, right? And so and hopefully the same would come across the guys. But what ends up happening is people just hate you. They just hate you. They just hate you because they can't take it. They can only take the truth that is bad about someone else, but not about themselves, right? They can't, or even they identify with the group. I mean, I don't identify with the group of men. I'm not men. I am John Sonmez. I am this man. I'm not men. And so if you say something bad against men, I don't personally identify with it and take offense. It's fine. It might be naive. I might say, hey, you're kind of doing a disservice to a lot of guys that are good by grouping them all in. But I'm not personally offended by it because I'm not going to identify with the group. I don't need to. I am myself. And so a lot of people, though, they do identify with the group. And man, this is this bothering you as much as it's bothering me? I feel like I have a third eye right now. But so anyway, yeah, no, I just thought this would be an interesting topic to talk about because it is so funny, and I've lived with this for a long time. And I know, whatever I do, I'm going to be hated for it. It's like, it's again, I love you guys, and I know a lot of you guys do get it, and some of you guys don't get it. I don't understand why you're still here watching the videos, continue to hate it. And the other thing about this is, you have to understand, I'm a human. I'm not perfect. I've learned a lot of things. I made mistakes, and it's funny again because I can go into so many reasons why you should hate me. I cheated on my ex-wife, right? I talked about this. I did a video on this. I admitted this on the other channel. I did the whole story. You can watch the whole video. I won't go into all the details of that. But in the podcast, I talked about it. I talked about it openly. I said it was wrong, right? And there's some clips of that. And yeah, of course, some women see that clip and they're like, he's such a scumbag. He's a horrible person. And look, I get it. I did wrong in doing that. I've got my reasons and I can tell you what they are, but it still doesn't justify the action. It was still a wrong action, right? But yeah, I mean, that's a good reason to hate me as well. So it's like, I knew doing the podcast, I knew doing this stuff and, being empathetic to the enemy, it always gets you hated. And even in the whole manosphere, right? What did I do in the manosphere that got me so hated? How did I become one of the most hated guys in the manosphere? By not hating people. By refusing to take sides with people. By refusing to join some stupid faction or group. By being myself, right? By going into the groups and presenting a case for, hey, this is the case for women as well, right? But by saying don't hate on women, don't attack each other, right? That is, it's cowardly to attack another man and call him names and make memes about him. Oh, now look at you, how did I get hated there? By talking at events, by going to this guy's event and then this guy's event who's the enemy of this guy, and all of these guys are enemies of these guys, and they're like little girls in high school, except worse, So it's funny, the more that I think you gain understanding, the more that you have empathy, the more that people will hate you, right? It's like, I don't want to compare myself to Jesus, but I can understand why people hated Jesus. I mean, it makes sense, right? Again, not comparing myself to Jesus. I'm not starting a cult here, I promise you. But it is funny. It is funny, when you think about it, right? Is because the more that you love people, right, and the more that you show compassion and empathy for people, the more that you're going to be hated. It's just the way it is, and it's because people like to form factions. They like to group themselves into a group, and they like to stick with that group, and it's because we're tribal. Right. And I don't know. I mean, it's funny because I had this conversation with my daughter and she was saying, because we were talking a little bit about politics, and she's like, I'm a libertarian. And I was like, yes, good. Right. And I was like, that's not even really, it's not the same as Democrat or Republican, because libertarian is just a life philosophy. It's just the life philosophy. It's the way to live. Right. It's like Stoic philosophy. It's like, it's the default. Like, if you really understand things, then you will understand that libertarianism is it's the only thing that makes sense. It's the only logical thing that actually makes sense, right? If you want a really good book, read How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World by Harry Brown. and you'll understand a little bit of the perspective, but it just logically follows. Like if you truly understand and think things through and are able to separate your emotions from your actions, you will be a libertarian, right? Again, like I said, it's not, but you won't be a libertarian with a capital L. You'll be a lowercase L libertarian, meaning that you subscribe to libertarian ideas, but you don't identify with, oh, we're libertarians and I believe libertarian things and I do libertarian things and I have libertarian friends. You'll just have that philosophy. You'll just have that knowledge or that wisdom in life. And so anyway, I was talking to my daughter about these things, and I was like, yeah, she's like, well, Biden, and she was like, and then whatever, and I don't know where she was kind of more leaning in the Republican general direction, which I mean, I suppose I do as well. But what I told her is, I was like, look, here's the thing that you have to understand. It's like the most important thing about politics, if you like politics, is to understand that there's no enemies, that nobody is bad. Okay, it's really easy to paint a picture of the person who has a different political view than you as an enemy, as wrong, as horrible person. And yeah, they might be wrong. There's definitely some views that do not logically follow. But again, like if I were to choose between Republican or Democrat, let's say here, there's a lot of flaws. I mean, a lot of the Republican thinking is based off of because God says so, or like kind of like false sort of calls to authority that don't make sense. But a lot of the principles and values they hold, like I said, I'm not religious, yet I still believe those things are true because they make sense, because that is the order of things, right? So the reasoning behind it is lost, but the result is still the same. And then you got Democrats on the other side that are even bleeding heart liberals and social justice warriors and woke people. They in a way think that they're doing the right thing. Like they truly believe, like both sides, both people believe they're doing the right thing. And that's why they're doing these actions, right? And even though some of these things really just don't make much sense, it is what it is. But it comes from people trying to do the right thing. They're trying to do the thing that they think is correct. And so what I told her was, I was like, look, the most important thing to understand is that these are humans, okay? And yeah, you can have differences of opinion, and that's fine. But no one's evil. No one is the enemy. When you vilify someone, when you vilify Trump or Trump supporters, or you vilify Biden or whatever, or all these things, which is easy to do, then you are a sucker. Then you've played into this game, and what's most important thing is to have empathy. To see that both people, they both struggle. They both have problems. They're both trying to do the best. Like every person on this planet is doing the best that they can. Honestly, it really is. It's really true, right? And and I was talking to her about this and about how, like, if you want to talk about some political idea, I think that's great. But again, don't subscribe to everything. You can't go through the checklist and be like, okay, well, I'm going to be Republican, so therefore I am for all of these things that Republicans are for. That's use your own mind, your own independent thinking, right? But people don't like that, right? People don't like that, right? If you go into a Republican convention and you are for gun control or something like that, or all of a sudden you're excommunicado, right? They don't want to deal with you, right? Even if you agree with all the other stuff, if you don't agree on every single point, now you're the enemy, right? And that's how it goes. And the same thing on the Democrat side. It's equally, just as ridiculous, because if you try to bring some sense to a woke person and you say, well, maybe Trump's not so bad. Oh, damn. If you say that I don't want to be your friend anymore, you don't deserve to live anymore because you're a racist asshole, right? You see what I'm saying? So it's funny, right? Like I said, I mean, this whole thing about, I guess this video is really about hate, and people are human. People are trying to do the best they can. Like I said, I've made mistakes. I'm not flawless, but I've learned a lot of things, and I have gained a lot of wisdom, I would hope, in the years as I've developed myself, and so I have a diverse set of viewpoints, and again, you don't have to agree with all the viewpoints that I have, and a lot of them are correct. But some of them are not, okay? Or some of them could use some revision. But I will stand on saying that a lot of them are correct. A lot of the stuff that I talk about in terms of personal psychology and relationships, trust me on this one. You learn it one way or the other, or you won't learn it, I guess, and you'll just suffer in life. But I've learned a lot of things the hard way, and I'm telling you, this is where it comes from, right? It's not that I don't get it, right? A lot of people are like, oh, John doesn't get it. No, I get it. Like I said, I did the video on religion. I was like, yeah, no, I read the Bible. I understand the Bible. I understand it inside and out. I taught a Bible study, but I understand the Quran. I understand, well, as much as you can, a lot of the Hindu Vedas and Buddhism and the various different sects of Buddhism. And again, I don't know every single religion, everything, but I know what Scientology is about, and I know what Mormonism is about, and I know what Jehovah's Witnesses are about, and and a lot of different things, right? And so my point in this is not to say how smart and clever I am or how wise I am, but it's to say that I actually do get it. Like I'm speaking from a perspective of understanding, of having empathy for as many factions or people as I can. I'm just not subscribing to any of them. Okay, because I don't need to, because I'm not going to factionalize myself. I'm not going to join the faction. And that's why people hate me, is because I won't join a faction. I'm not going to get into a camp. I won't do it. And I would suggest that you hand in all of your cards for all the camps that you're in as well, because it's not going to help you in life. It's not, right? And again, it will keep you from being hated. That's what it will do, and that's what most people do, and that's why factions exist, and that's why there's so safety in the numbers. But it's not a good way. It's not a good way to live. It's not a good philosophy for life, and it will do you a big disservice. So I guess what I would say, I guess some advice for me and some advice for you, right? So what's the advice for me? I mean, the advice for me, I suppose, is just keep on beating the drum and don't let it bother you. But try to try to make people understand that you understand their viewpoint before talking about something else. Because, like I said, I do understand your viewpoint, right? I understand what it's like to be I don't want to use the terminology, but a guy that's not successful with women. I understand what it's like. Okay, I understand what it's like to be a guy that's a nice guy and is rejected and has had a lot of crappy things done to them and or struggled in life. I understand, right? I understand what it's like to be successful and to have the flip side of that, right? But I also understand the argument for guys about the unfair laws and marriage and divorce and all these things. And I've been through it. I lost half my shit, guys. Okay. Now I was the one who walked out. So it's a little bit different, but in a lot of ways, I understand what it's like to be in a situation where you're not standing up for yourself. Right. And I said it, before, I understand the plight of women. I have made myself intimately familiar with what women suffer, and they do suffer as well. Right. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So I guess, the thing is maybe I don't make it as clear sometimes that I get it. I get it, but I still think this, again, and I understand, like, again, I could tell you, and yeah, this is a little bit of a long rant, but I could tell you that I understand when guys say, hey, women will take advantage of me if I pay for dates. And they'll just use me for money. I understand that, okay? And I understand the arguments and the rationale behind that, and I understand that some guys are used for that. But with my understanding, that's when I say you should still pay for everything as a man, because I'm telling you that I get that. However, you should be so valuable that if a woman chose to use you for money, she'd be a fool. Like, that would be dumb. It'd be like if you went on had a lunch meeting with a famous actor Tom Cruise or whatever, and you were like, oh, I'm going with Tom Cruise, so he's probably going to buy dinner. It's going to be great. And then once dinner's done, I'm going to jet because fuck Tom Cruise, right? Like, okay, that would be dumb, right? You know what I mean? Again, not to say that you should be all celebrity crush and whatever, but I'm just saying, you would probably want to hang out with Tom. You would probably want to pay for dinner. You probably wouldn't care, paying for dinner would be the least of your concerns because you're with someone who's really accomplished and really cool. You can fill in the blank, Arnold Schwarzenegger, whoever you want. Okay, there. So you should be that guy, right? And you shouldn't be a guy that cares about that. You should be a guy that makes enough money that you're not going to care about stuff like that, right? So anyway, I'm going off on a lot of tangents, but I want to make the point clear. So my advice to you then in all this is that don't be afraid of having people hate you. Speak the truth anyway, and figure it out. And don't be afraid to go over to the other side a little bit, you know what I mean? And to make some friends over there, right? And to talk to people. And yeah, if you do what I'm telling you, people will hate you. I wish I had a cure for that, because they will hate you. But you know who won't hate you? Yourself. Because as many people that hate me, I don't hate me. But I know that a lot of people have a lot of people that like them, and they hate themselves. And that's a tragedy. And before we close this up, if you've been with me for this long, I would invite you to join the Bulldog Mindset. I have a link down below. It is, I'm going to be rebooting it here in January. I know I keep on saying that, but that is my focus. I'm going to be working on getting all this together and really trying to put together all my philosophy for life in one place. And there's some real cool stuff that I'm going to be doing with that, with some lessons and how I'm going to plan things out and create more of a community. And I want to get more involved in the community and meet a lot of you guys and talk to a lot of you guys. So I want to create that place, and I don't want to do it on Facebook, but I mean, that's where we're at right now. But yeah, so join it. Like I said, if you like my work, if you want to support me and you want me to be able to continue to do this kind of stuff, because I am going out on a limb here, right? I'll just tell you that I have cut off a lot of my revenue sources in order to reboot this channel, in order to start a new podcast, in order to start the Stoic channel. And I'm not focused so much on marketing, as you can see, and doing stuff. So this is my marketing, right? I'm writing my own emails. I fired all my copywriters, essentially, right? So like, I don't want to do the sleazy kind of marketing. So this is my plea, right? As I'm saying, like, if this is going to work, it's going to have to work like this, right? So you want me to be honest and authentic, and I get it, and that's where I've fallen down before. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm telling you, right? And the other thing I have available is a few coaching slots that are left. If you're serious about getting some one-on-one coaching with me, I can help you out with a lot of things. I don't need to say them, but go to bulldogmindset.com/coaching, and you can check that out. I think there's probably a link below. If not, you can find it if you go to bulldogmindset.com. But I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.